Yeah.
And we're live, so everybody's seeing us on Facebook. And it's Magana, right? The last name?
Magana.
Magana. Okay, I didn't know if it had the Anya or not. Is it Italian or Hispanic?
Well, it's Spaniard, but it definitely is the Hispanic last name.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. There we go. All right. So, we don't want to look crooked on camera, man. This is.
Well, I'll try to make it a little bit more centered here on my end. I'm in my mobile office, as you can tell.
No, that's cool, man. That's totally. It's coming in really great, by the way, because usually if it's not Wi-Fi, it doesn't come in, but it's looking good, man. We're good. So, what's the name of your company?
Eric's Tree and Landscape Pest Services.
Oh, good. So you're in lawn care too, bro.
Yeah. Well, I try not to do as much lawn, or I'm dabbling more in the lawns. I do more shrubs, more trees. I'm very specialized in that sense.
Yeah.
But, out here in California, there's two licenses for pest control. So there's a structural license, and then it allows you to do all the structural stuff. Fumigation, termites. Indoor cockroaches, etc. Well, I decided to be more on the landscape end, trees and shrubs. Lawns are very finicky. California is very finicky with their lawns, especially with the drought we had. So we have a lot of issues with water. And so there's some people that are pulling their lawns away. They're not necessarily keeping their lawns. So you see a lot of native plants, a lot of native planting coming in. So a lot of people do love their trees, and that's something that I really want to specialize in. We're going the same way. We're getting away from lawns, and my specialty has been in more ornamental on the trees and shrubs in the same way than in the lawns for longest because we couldn't really get the eco-friendly part of the lawn done yet, and we've been trying for years to do the organic stuff. The products just aren't there. Right. So we found that we could do organic tree, shrub. We can also do fruit trees. Mm-hmm. So we decided this year, I don't know if you saw my mention, that I want to get out of that lawn care part. And all we're really focusing on is on the shrubs and the palm trees. We got a lot of palm tree care. So we're doing the same thing because we see the writing on the wall. What you're experiencing in California, we're going to eventually get down to us. And that's what we've been focused on, the same thing. So how many years have you been in business now doing this? Since 2011. Okay. Actually, I've had my company that started. I've actually been in business for being in the industry for a while now. I think it's since 2003. And so it's right out of college or during college, I actually did tree and shrubs for a company locally while I was going to Cal Poly Pomona. What happened is I ended up approaching my professor. I'm more of a hands-on I learn hands-on. I don't necessarily learn by sitting down and reading through a book. Right. So I asked my professors, what major do I really need to get into where I could actually have a job coming out of college? I love trees. I love shrubs. I love insects. I love, water, soils. And he mentioned agricultural biology. And he connected me with one of the Cal Poly Pomona alumni. And he hired me on the spot. And the only requirement was I had to be able to put up with some of the working out in the sun. And a lot of the work that we do is, outdoors. Right. So that was one of his main requirements. Hey, you're going to be outside. You better be ready for that. And I was, and I took on the specialty work that he had. We led that push. Now, right out of college, once I graduated, I got picked up by a big distributor. I ended up working for one of the big distributors out there for 5 years. I worked for Univar. I think they recently changed their name. Yeah. And
several times.
Yeah, I've seen a few name changes, but great company. I still use them as one of my main distributors. very family oriented. Actually, they give you all the tools needed to do your job right. I saw Pest web launch. I saw a lot of these nuances that they're putting out there, and yeah, I worked for him for about 5 years. I had a customer approach me, and he asked me, he wanted to actually retire, and he asked me if I wanted to come in and help out, take over some of his business. I necessarily didn't want to take over his business with his name. What I did is I took on his customer base.
Right.
And we struck a deal. I went out on my own. Now, when I first started, his prices were super low. I mean, that wasn't his main business. He had a tree trimming company.
Gotcha.
So his lawn care, his tree and shrub applications, they were just an add-on. It wasn't his livelihood. And so his prices were super low. What I also noticed is that some of the customers were on the older end. So they were already, moving out of California, or they no longer had the disposable income. Gotcha. And so I ended up kind of restructuring that whole process, the whole company. And when I went on my own, I still didn't have enough business to sustain our family. And so, I actually would go and help them out with this tree trimming cruise until, it took about 6 months in order to actually start really, bringing in the customer base and making it happen.
Right.
So yeah, it went from college. Never thought I was going to get it back into the industry. Loved the distribution part of it. I even thought about going to working for a manufacturer, and the opportunity popped up. I took it, and I'm happy I did it, and I'm doing really well.
No, that's great. What did you use to mainly get your first customers? I mean, what method of sales? Because obviously you worked for Univar. Right. Did you work in the sales end for Univar, or did you work in distribution or warehouse or what?
No, first, what they did is they put me in the warehouse. You have to learn the products. Now, because I came in from the landscape end, knowing plants, trees, and shrubs, I had no clue about structural. I had an idea biology-wise, termites, ants, rodents, invertebrate pest. But I really never had an idea what the structural market was and how big the structural market was. And so it was eye-opening. And while I was working in distribution inside the warehouse as an inside sales rep, there's an opportunity that popped up where I became an outside sales rep out in Southern California. And I took that position, and I was doing both landscape sales, or I would say ag sales and chemicals, and then I was also doing structural. Structural being a big part of what the territory was. I had to learn quickly how to deal with all these different situations, because when you buy from your distributor, you call your distributor because they're the ones that see firsthand what's going on out there, the pet, the products, what the customers are asking for. Because it's the same questions, and when you're a distributor, you typically get the same questions. Just like when you run a pest control company, right? The customers always call regarding the same question. Right. Initially, I had to humble myself and say, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I have the ability to call a manufacturer. I have the ability to call. Anybody in our industry that could give me an answer. And eventually it caught up where I was, a little bit more knowledgeable in the sense that structural now was a bigger part of what I was doing. And it was a great starting point, because initially I knew the sales part of it. I never sold. When I was with Univar, I tried not to sell as a strong salesperson. I try to sell on knowledge. Right. For my customers, that's how I approached them. I wanted to bring them the latest information. I wanted to bring them the latest pest issues, laws and regulations are occurring. So I never necessarily sold strongly on, I need to sell you a case of this or 2 cases of that. I wanted to sell on the knowledge part. So during that process, I gained so many friends that were business owners, that were structural business, pest control owners. So when I decided to start my company, I was able to, tap into them and ask them for, if you ever have a situation where you're dealing with tree pests or shrub pests, go ahead and refer me. They knew me, and that's how I got a lot of my customers, actually through referrals. I had no clue about SEO. I didn't know about website. Maybe if you look at my website, it hasn't been updated in a while. I actually stopped advertising 3 years ago because I'm just a one-man show at this point. And so I got really inundated. So I was getting 10 to 15 new phone calls a day. And I didn't want to hire. I mean, that was my philosophy. I just wanted to make sure I got a grasp on the business end of it.
Right.
So, initially knocked on doors. I called on old friends, old customers of mine. And eventually I got it up to the point where it was self-sustaining. But see, when you start a pest control company, you don't necessarily know the business end of it.
Right.
The business end, knowing how much to charge. And that was one of my biggest hurdles was, how much do I charge them? I know how much the product is worth. Now, what is my time worth at the property? How many accounts can I cover in a day? Do I cover more than, 5? Do I cover more than 10? Kind of find out, I start finding out that some of these structural guys are running routes of, 20 stops. In the landscape end, in the tree and shrub end, you're running. No, you can't do that because you're charging more per stop. Yeah. First of all, and you're very specific, and sometimes you're using multiple products. So now you have, you could have an herbicide, and so you have, a backpack or a tank dedicated to that, and then you have, necessarily you'll end up using, a fertilizer. Or maybe you'll do a mixture between a fertilizer or a systemic insecticide or a contact insecticide. There's so many nuances that it takes you longer. But you do charge longer for what you do.
Yeah, lawn and ornamental, what I found out that it needed to be somewhere between, and will shock, when I talk about this in groups, people just totally lose their mind because there's no way you can charge that much. But in order to run an effective lawn and ornamental route, you need to be somewhere between 200 and 225 an hour.
Yes.
Because the original GHP is about 100, 125 an hour on average. With lawn and ornamental, it's double that because like right now, my guy is going to be on one property today and we're literally doing 3 houses. Yeah. And he will be on those 3 houses. They're all owned by the same guy. One is owned by his son, the one next door, and they're literally 3. And we're doing a complete shrub treatment where there's thousands of linear feet of ficus where we're doing systemic treatment. And he will be there 4 hours on those 3 properties. Easy. Just doing it. And plus we have to treat the palm trees. And there's probably 30 palm trees on that property. And then we've got to do our organic spray on the other shrubs. He will be almost an entire day on those 3 properties alone. And this is what you can't do. We do maximum 6 on average, 6 to 8 customers. If we're lucky, 8, but we're on 6. And that's what you need to be able, because you have a bigger vehicle. You have, people don't understand. They don't understand tank mixing until you've actually had to mix an herbicide, a fungicide, a fertilizer, and an insecticide all in the same tank.
And an anti-foam because
and an anti-foam.
Yeah, some of these ag products, they foam up really, fast, and so there's a mix, and there's actually a procedure in the label. If you don't read the label, there's a procedure. You want to add this fertilizer first, so you want to make sure it's compatible with this fungicide, etc.
It's a whole different ball game with lawn and ornamental, and most when I talk about I want to get out of lawn because of. Nobody's ever happy with lawn for some reason. My GHP customers, we're like 1% callback. Really, and in the summer, we're top 5. But we don't get callbacks on the lawns because we're really proactive. So if we're on there and we know there's a fungus, there's an automatic follow-up in 2 weeks. And this prevents. So if you don't do that follow-up, you're going to get the callback. So you can either be a hero or you can be a jerk. And that's what we struggle with, that we don't, but it's labor intensive because you're selling aesthetics. You're not selling with lawn and ornamental is about beauty and aesthetics and art. You're not selling the fear of you're going to have roaches. Nobody's afraid of, they're just like, hey, I've got this cypress, which might cost $500. And now it's 10 feet tall, 15 feet tall, and you couldn't find one if you had $1,000 if it goes bad. Do you have a lot of problem with the canker on cypress over there? Do you have a lot of people? Because I know you're more
big time with cankers.
Iridium canker, right?
Yeah. So what happens is by the time they call us or they refer us or they find me, etc., the tree's already gone. And there's nothing you could do for that tree, or there's nothing you could do for that shrub, or the lawn is going to require just so much work and time and effort that unless that customer has, and this is where I guess when you talk to them over the phone, you have to be able to distinguish what type of customer, because we're talking about a higher end customer that we have to deal with, because there's, like you said, it's an aesthetic. It's not, it's not a need. And so I service a lot of high end clientele. And these clientele, I mean, they want to keep the trees, but by the time they get a hold of us, the thing's already too far gone. And so, that's one thing that I initially found out was that I can't be Johnny Appleseed. I can't go from place to place to place to place to place, and then just looking at dead trees. So, you have to charge a service fee or just a consultation fee just to show up. This is something that I'm finding out with the pest control end, is that, a lot of people just want to do everything free. And if free this, free that. You can't
do it in ornament. Not unless you're the big companies who are just basically sending a guy out with a truck and a tank mix and you spray everything down. And if it works for them, great. But that's a minimum viable service. What you and I do is that really high. It's like saying, do you want to eat, a sirloin burger, or do you want to go to Smith and Walensky? I mean, it's really that much of a difference in the quality that people don't get with lawn and ornamental, that you can't sell sirloins. I mean, it's not at $7.99. If you're really you got to cater to that top 1 to 5% of the money makers.
Correct.
My average garden landscape design, 50 to 100,000 for landscape design. So they're going to be spending with me easily. The least customer is going to spend $1,200. The most expensive customer is spending somewhere around $8,000 a year with me. Because that's just the reality. You're selling a luxury ticket item. Nobody needs $500 cypress trees. Nobody needs $15,000 royal palm trees. You get them because you can afford it and you want it. And that's what we go in, and we have to sell that finesse, and we got to sell that knowledge base. And what I do is, I don't know about you, but the majority of my business comes from all my YouTube videos, because I do YouTube video after YouTube on plant issues. So by the time they've seen 5 of my videos, this guy's the expert. This is who we need to call. And that's how I get all of my business, is with YouTube videos, because then I don't have to do a lot of that consulting work. I do it right. They've already seen it, and I do it right over the phone. I consult $600 a month clients right over the phone, and I send them the price, and then I go over and I said, I'll give you an hour of consultation for free once they agree with the price. Because if they can't afford it, there's no sense in me going out there.
Correct.
I've got a 2-acre property that has, all these plants on it, and they're thinking it's going to cost. I had one guy who we had a large national brand. No kidding. 2 acres. I sold them on the phone, Eric. He was spending $179 a quarter with this national brand.
How do you stay in business and like that?
Well, he wasn't happy. The place was a mess. They were only applying bifenthrin. That's it. They sold a lawn care program, and he showed me the service ticket, and I said, they're only applying an insecticide. We went from $179 a quarter to $600 a month over the phone. We can close that kind of business because he saw all of my videos, and I said, listen, dude, this is like buying Bentleys, and I tell people it's like buying Bentleys and Rolexes. You buy it because you can afford it. This is not where you negotiate on this quality.
Correct.
It's not.
Correct.
It's not. The quality is not negotiable because you need such a high level of expertise with lawn and ornamental that it isn't the same as killing roaches and ants, which is really is 5 times easier.
Yeah.
And so man, that's been our thing forever, for 13 years. And it's really because you've noticed you don't have a lot of competition.
You know, Frank, everything's because I stopped advertising. My plan was to set up a podcast just for plant health and call it I was gonna start something, but I got so inundated, and I do all the majority of my work now. I have a helper, and we're actually structuring the business where I'm trying to dissociate. Eventually I'll change the name of the company, but I'm trying to dissociate myself from the business because everybody wants to see Eric, because Eric is the expert. Yep. Eric is the one that's out there. He's the one that was referred, that Mrs. Jones said during her coffee meeting with the rest of her friends that, Eric is the expert. You want to deal with Eric. And so I'm trying to slowly dissociate myself from actually doing all the work. So now I'm in the process, and I've been following you on the way you've been, talking about how to bring in an employee. Bringing in employees, to me, when you start as a one-man show, bringing in somebody as an employee, it's very difficult. Very difficult in the fact that I can't. Sometimes it's hard to let go of, because the nuances of training somebody in this industry is it's a little bit more difficult. You're talking about a whole year worth of showing them the seasons. A whole year, exactly. The different soils, showing them how to describe the applications to the customers. And, going back to the luxury item, these customers have a maid, they have a pool guy, they have, a nanny. They have an HVAC guy always there on premises, or an electrician, the landscaper. And so there's all these things that, you're part of this team. And, I have customers where I share with some of my structural, friends, some of these company owners. We'll share, you have 2 or 3 pest control companies on premises. Somebody doing the structural, someone doing, the outdoor gopher work and trapping, and then another company going out and doing the shrubs like ourselves. So there's all this movement occurring, and it's definitely a luxury item. So what ended up happening is, because I've been on premises and it takes a while to load up water in some of your tanks and do the mixture, et cetera. I started, saying, "Hey, Mrs. Jones, I see that you're, that you have, all these cobwebs on your eaves, or out here by, your statues. I see it's full of ants. You would like me to, treat it with the landscape license that we have. We could treat, pests in the landscape." And then what ended up happening is now I have this whole group of customers where I'm not necessarily just doing the landscape part of it. Now I'm doing their gopher work. Now I'm doing, their outdoor pest control. I don't do trapping, but I do like a lot of the gophers, the ground squirrels, mole control. Right. I started, it progressed to that point where I even considered like you, maybe going more in the structural end, but no competition in what I'm doing. There isn't any. That's we think. Oh, there's a lot of companies out there doing it. There's just a lot of companies doing it wrong because they're focused on one thing. We sell a cookie cutter system to a minute. They sell a minimum viable product. That's correct. Let's look at that. I mean, I compare it always. I don't know. Do you have what's like? I heard you guys like out there In-N-Out Burger. Yes, you got to try it. I hear it's amazing. Over here, we got Five Guys. I don't know. Do you have Five Guys over there? We have Five Guys. I'm not sure if they do it the way they do it out there, but Five Guys, we do have Five Guys. I prefer Five Guys fries, but that'd probably be another different show. But you see what I'm saying? But you can't tell me that In-N-Out Burger and McDonald's are in the same category. Oh, no, they're not. No, they're not. I mean, when I pay $22 for a burger over here and fries and a drink, literally, that's what it comes out to, like compared to a $6 meal. Yeah. That's where we're at. We're at 6X the price and the quality. And that's what I tell people is, listen, you're not buying a commercial. And I had the same struggles at the beginning where people wanted me. Yeah. Right now, nobody gets me.
You don't. And I made that distinction when I did the rebranding of my company, which is something you need to do because you've got Eric's and you have your name.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing is that when I rebranded, I said, this stops.
Right.
And you no longer get me. And I started prepping my clients with the new text. And it was that we are a company and I'm a brand. I'm the face of the brand because I'm the guy out there doing the videos and I'm doing the sales and I'm on the phone and I'm trying to get myself out of that now, which is incredibly hard, but you have to structure. To your point, what you have to do to get all these guys is you got to have everything that you do literally written down to 1 to 2 pages.
Yeah.
All your protocols.
I was even thinking of making a photo book because a photo book with small little ends,
what I found out with photo books is that it does zero justice to the actual thing. So what I do is you can have a photo book, but what I do when I train people is I actually take them out and I say, I show them I show them the theoretical, but then I immediately take them out and show them the practical. Because if they can't make that connection very quickly, it's very hard, especially with plants. Remember, you're going into a garden where they're going to have to memorize easily a dozen plants that everybody has because pretty much people psychologically will plant what their neighbors plant.
Yes.
Very few gardens that you're going to have that have very exclusive stuff. And if we do, we say, look, that right there. And here's the other thing. Plants are installed in the wrong place. The landscaper put the plants in the wrong place. So now this plant that needs full sun is like, it needs more fertilizer. I just feel it needs, I just feel it needs more fertilizer. And it's like, no, it's in the wrong place. No matter how much you dump on it, it's always going to look bad. Yeah. So you're dealing with the landscapers, you're dealing with weather, you got a drought problem. We have a water problem over here that we can't control. You have a more Mediterranean climate where I have a subtropical climate.
Correct.
It's so what I have to do for training is basically what you said, that whole cycle where they see all 4 seasons.
Right.
Our 4 seasons we don't have cold, but we do have the drop in temperatures which causes fungal problems. Like it's to pull your hair out in the winter with fungal problems. You would think you would have more in the summer, but like I have no hair because of that. I had hair when I started.
I'm catching up.
Yeah, you were there. See, it happens. It's the crown, of glory that we get. But yeah, man. So what you have to do is you got to get those protocols down. You have to really develop a franchise mentality, but that you offer this high-end super service, and you do have to pay those people a lot more because you have to charge a lot more. You have to pay people a lot more than most, but it's hard to find people like you that are hands-on, but that like being outside, that also are a bit scientific.
Yes.
And mathematics, and they got to love the science and the biology and then be able to work with their hands. And to find somebody is like finding a diamond in the rough.
I know.
And then you have to cut them and you have to polish them and you have to raise them up. And then you have to, because that's how it is. It's so hard. And what people don't understand about what you and I do, training a tech for GHP, I can literally have a tech show them how to do perimeter treatment and cleaning and swiping and then do inside callbacks in 40 hours. I have a system for that. To teach him how to be an expert on 80% of the problems he's going to run into in the next 3 months, takes 3 months. That's it.
Yes.
So in 40 hours, I can evaluate if this guy's going to work. Trying to evaluate if an LNO tech is going to work is much more difficult because it's a slow process. You can't overwhelm them with plant pathology and plant pests. And then does that plant have a disease deficiency, or is it just a seasonal issue with that plant?
Right.
And sometimes it's my customer, my plants are turning yellow. Those are brand new leaves that are coming out, and that's perfectly normal at this time of year. They've never noticed that before. They've had that plant for 15 years, and now the plant all of a sudden is turning yellow, and it's a color change. It's normal. So
here's what I noticed, especially with COVID, everybody being at home.
They notice everything now.
They're noticing everything. My phone rings more. And actually, it's a good thing because I have customers that I have never seen. I've never seen them.
You don't know.
All I do, because it's outdoor work, they just leave the gate open.
Yep.
And they'll see you on your Ring camera. They know that you showed up, but that's it.
Yep.
Now I'm seeing customers I've never seen. I've seen some of their kids are actually home because they're Zoom. There's no school.
There's no school.
I actually started carrying a pack of stickers for the kids. Things like that. Carrying extra. I'm putting away the dog because the dog's now usually the dog's indoors with the nanny. Yeah. But now the dog's outside, so I'm bringing the dog inside. You become part of the family as a technician, as a business owner. Yeah. Like you said, I had to dissociate myself. I can't be out there all the time. I can't show up. And one of the quotes that kind of resonated with me that I've heard just recently, I'm not sure who said it, but your urgency is not my emergency. Yeah. And I will take care of you, but we can't make the color change on your turf or on your tree right away. Yeah. And I hear what it's talking to the customer and listening to them and kind of massaging the fact that that we know that there's an urgency on their part, but it's not. I can't drop everything that I do. I have 6 kids. Yeah.
How did you find the time, dude?
But I love it. I'm a family man. I like being with my family. So the weekends are crucial. They're golden for me. And
we stopped working Saturdays and Sundays. People are like, can you come tomorrow? Can you come on Sunday?
Right. No.
We stopped. We're Monday through Friday. Right. Pretty much 9 to 5, 9 to 6. Because that's the other thing we don't understand. When you're working in a yard for 6 hours, and it's I don't know how high your temperatures get in your area, but here we get to 100. Yeah. With 100% humidity, my guys are wiped out after 8 hours. Yeah. They can't work 10 hours like you do in GHP, where you're in a property 18 minutes and then you're in your car for 15 minutes and you're out on a property. No, these guys are out. Like, we're getting ready to do 10 acres of a property we just took on next week. That's a 2-day job for 2 guys. And we got rain and we got everything in between. And people don't understand, like, it's raining. We can't service you.
I know.
You're going to have to wait. Sometimes we're 2 weeks behind. And these are the issues that, you can't just go out and do a fungicide application on a plant, even though the plant, has a fungus, because it's going to rain in the next 30 minutes.
Yes. And then, so and here's the scheduling part that I've come across, especially with what we do is, because you're spending a lot more time in that property, rescheduling it becomes a huge hassle. Knowing the fact that, sometimes, like you said, we could be backed up 2 or 3 weeks, because we have all these, big jobs that we have to get to. And, if we don't get some of these jobs lined up, in the proper way, we end up losing some of the plants. You could actually, do more damage. And so, and this is where it eventually, hopefully in the next few months, we'll see the name change and everything will start, transitioning. But, and here's a philosophy that I also noticed, just knowing a lot of the business owners in pest control. There's different ways of running a business. There's not just one way. Right. And I started off with a very personalized approach, and the personalized approach got me where I'm at now. But then I'm noticing all these, companies are popping up. They'll add on 1,200 to 2,000 accounts, and then they flip them, they sell them. It's a business transaction. It's not they need the customers for a short period of time, and then they move on. They don't have a special relationship with with those customers, or it's a quick meet and greet with the community, and then they leave. Right. I don't know if I can necessarily do that with my customers. Again, there's only multiple ways of running the business. So either you grow very fast, like some people do, or you could just slowly. And then what I've done everything debt free. So I've slowly transitioned to where I'm at now. And excellent. And so I've never had the issue of, I owe the bank so much money. And this is what I try to tell other business owners. If you're going to start a business, avoid debt as much as possible. Yeah. It just becomes one extra thing that's be haunting you, not letting you sleep at night. On top of taxes, on top of retaining customers, buying chemicals, etc. And so right now, the pivot is going to be slowly growing more of a personalized business, but because we don't have a lot of competition, and I want competition Frank. I'm not afraid of competition.
Yeah, but you won't have it because like I said, when you're selling Bentleys and Rolexes, you're selling to that top 1%, and everybody can drop their price. Everybody can do more marketing, but they're going to go after that low end client. They're going after that $49 a month client, that just needs a minimum viable product. When we're selling what we're selling, it's like I tell people all the time, it's like, look, we sell Bentleys and Rolexes. And if you can't afford it, that's great. I can't negotiate on my price because you can't negotiate on the quality of your expectation.
Right. And,
they're up there. They're up there with the expectation.
I've taken, I've had people ride along with me in pest control, and I tell them, hey, I don't mind showing you how to do the work. I don't mind showing you the industry. Ride it with me. I'll show you. I'll take you to my accounts. I'll show you the process. And by the end of the day, they go, I'd rather stick to pest control.
I've trained so many guys and that do GHBs. Oh, I want to get into LNO because they say I can make more money by selling an upgrade to this client. I said, yeah, but you understand that the moment you sell that upgrade, there's an expectation that you're not used to, and you're used to this 18-minute roach service, ant service on the exterior, and then all of a sudden, that customer's complaining about that one little spatch on their that was caused by their kids' basketball being on the lawn for a week, and they say, "Oh, I got a bug," and now you got to go out there and look at it, and there's no bug. That's a ball that stayed there for 2 weeks and caused a damage. So you're in a totally different environment mentally, where you got to shift from selling high-end products, and most people do not know how to sell high-end products.
Right.
They're selling that $300, $500 a year business when we're doing sometimes that with one stop, and all of our stops are the same. So people are like, man, you charge $500 for, but that stop is almost half a day or almost an entire day. Yes. So my money is predicated upon that personalized attention. So like I said, we don't have callbacks because we're having to go back. So probably 15 to 20% of our lawns, we're going back every 2 weeks. We have properties that we don't do a quarterly service. We're on their monthly or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a client that has an expectation that he has a demand, because these are all high-end doctors, lawyers, if you're in California, tech guys that are multimillionaires. Right. And their tolerance for imperfection is very, very low.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this high demand of what they expect. And when you send a junior tech who doesn't, you need to hire people that understand high-end clients.
Right. But going back to, we do deal with the high-end clientele, but there's also room in our industry for companies that want to go maybe lower and maybe do not be as perfectionist. There's definitely room in our industry and what we do, plant health, that can be easily fulfilled by somebody else. And I challenge everybody out there that if they want to really get into this, call us. I mean, they could call me, they could get a hold of me. I try to divulge as much knowledge as I know. I want more competition, because competition makes me sometimes look better. Sometimes it does. It makes everybody honest. I don't mind the people out there, but going from what a lot of pest control companies now, these a lot of companies are popping up where you notice that they're doing bi-monthlies, and they try to get as many customers in a year or two, and then they sell. You see that happen, and good for them, because that's a good way of running up. That was their goal. Is there something that you could do in this industry that we're in the plant health part of it, if to do something like that? Maybe there is.
We do, because we have my minimum client is on lawn and ornamental. Like, I have our minimum program. We have 2 programs. We have a gold and a platinum service. Yeah. We don't sell silver. Yeah. So our main service, let's say, is the bi-monthly, every 2 month service. But it has to be for a specific type of property. In other words, you can't have 20 species of plants that all require different service. In other words, if you planted just lawn and you just stuck a couple of crotons in the front, that program will work for you if you're mowing the lawn right if your landscaper is coming weekly and you're going to have a really good looking lawn. But I sell the expectation that, listen, as long as this isn't done right, this over here doesn't fix it. In other words, I want to drink vitamins, but I want to eat bad burgers and smoke and drink and party, and I want to feel good. It doesn't happen. If you get a good landscaper that does good lawn work, and he sharpens his blade, mows at the right height, mows at the right frequency, and you're watering correctly, you're going to need me less, so I can sell you a minimum viable product. But when you have a real picky client, and then we have to educate the landscaper. I do a ton of work with the client to re-educate the landscaper, because understand that landscapers don't have degrees. They bought a truck, they decide, and they're artists. I've seen landscapers, and especially doing topiaries. They're freaking artists, but they don't know a darn thing about mowing that lawn right. They can't mow it when it's wet down here. You can't mow it with a dull blade. You got to sharpen your blade. You got to mow it at this height. No, but the customer wants it scalped at that height. What varieties do you have of lawn over there, by the way?
We have a lot of cool season or warm season grasses. It's a mixture of everything.
So do you have St. Augustine over there?
Very little. We have a lot more. You see the brand names. Like the Marathons of the world. But we have so many microclimates out here.
Yeah, we do see that. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could be in the beach, and from where I'm at, you could be in the beach in 15 minutes. You could be up a mountain in 20, 30 minutes. You could be up in the snow in 40 minutes. We have so many microclimates here in California that we deal with a lot of different plants. And what happens is you get people that move in from a different state, because California, if you think about it, a lot of people that live here move out eventually, or there's a lot of folks that come here to California for the California dream, and so they're used to seeing those tropical plants and areas where you have a lot of water, and they put a tropical plant next to a desert plant, and then the landscaper is gone. He'll never come back again, and he'll just put the irrigation, and the plants look great right out of the nursery for about 3 to 4 months, and then they go
off. Yeah, all bets are off. Once you get it out of that container and you put it into the ground, you change the soil is different. You have it in a perfect environment with organic material in the nursery, and then you stick it into this ground. And you're right. See, that's the whole thing. If people don't understand, my irrigation guy set the lawn and it's on for 2 weeks, for a month, because that thing established. Once it's established, take it off. So when we go in, we have to do complete irrigation inspection. And we do the adjustment. We manage the irrigation for our clients. Yeah. So we because if we let the landscaper do it, no, it needs to be on every day, because that's the way it is. No, it does not need to be on every day. It needs to be on this amount, depending on what you installed. So that's what I do. Is I don't do sales. I do consultations. So when I talk to my client over, I said, listen, we're between here and here. If you can swing that price, we go there. I do a consultation, and we do an inventory of all the plants. We tell them, this is what you can expect with this. This is what you can expect with this. This is how long it's going to take for us to restore this. And we need really a year before we can know how all these plants are behaving, because what people don't understand is you've got what happened with the on that plant if it has bad genetics. We don't know. You don't. Yeah. You don't know the bad genetics.
This is what you have to tell customers. Some of these plants, you got to understand biology. Yeah. Some of these plants are raised out of seed. So it's just like when you have kids, your kids are going to be completely different from the parents. Yeah. You have both different genetics that come into play. How long was that plant in the pot? Is it root bound? Yeah. Was a plant put in a soil where it's going to eventually start sinking because the soil is, it could be too sandy or it could be this. One thing that we started doing recently is doing soil samples and just getting a description of what that soil is, and sending it in, letting the customer have a better idea. We're doctors in what we do. Yeah, we are. And so there's a lot of biology that's involved, but I think maybe you and I, we sometimes overcomplicate things. I've learned to from our technical part,
We have very set systems that we have. We have protocols. Yeah. And like I said, my protocols are on 2 pages. They're very simple.
That's awesome.
What we have to understand is that we don't make it complicated for the client either. We just set the expectation for the client that says you need to give us a minimum of a year to figure out how these plants are behaving, because there's so many things that have been doing wrong so far. The irrigation is wrong, the mowing is wrong, things have been done wrong. To restore this garden to its glory is going to take us 6 months to a year.
Right.
And you can't expect because we live in an instant satisfaction download society where I can get instant food. Amazon can ship it next day. I can get an instant download. And what they're expecting, that the only thing that's living in that home is their plants and them. Yeah. Everything else is dead. Concrete is dead. Asphalt is dead. The roofing is dead. The only biological thing you have are the pests and the plants. And those are all the things that we have to. So what I've done is, you're right, we can overcomplicate it, but we've simplified it with protocol, policy, procedure to where things are very structured. And so we know that we can do this lawn every 2 months. We do our palm tree treatments every 6 months. We do our shrubs treatments systemic every 6 months. We fertilize every 4. But that doesn't guarantee the result. What guarantees the result is that boots on the ground of the technician being there and looking and saying, we've done this by protocol. Why isn't this looking right? And then we deal with that problem. But that's where the expertise, that trained eye that says, that plant don't look right. It's in the right place. Something is wrong with that plant. And when I mean a plant, it isn't a little $3 plant. Sometimes these are $1,000 plants people put in. So it's that expertise of knowing, why isn't it looking right after we've done everything right? What are we missing? Sometimes the dog pees in that same spot and he's got a Rottweiler. Yeah. And that urine is causing that plant to look that way. And we don't find, you didn't see me on the ground sniffing stuff. Do you have a female dog? Yeah. How do you know? It says, the spots on your lawn tell me you just got a female dog.
And people, I don't know how you can tell that.
But you experience, because you know that's not a fungal disease. That hole is too small to be fungal disease. He doesn't have a bunch of baseballs laying around. Right. All of a sudden I go knock on the door. Says, did you get a female dog? And it's like, how do you know? I put my nose in the ground and the ammonia told me. That's the only way. This is a gross stuff, but that's the only way you're going to know these things. And I tell people, I says, you can't assume that's disease. You can't assume that's fungus. You got to start asking questions like, what's changed? So this is where a high-end company comes in, like yours and mine, where we're saying, we understand the agronomy. We understand, the microclimates. We understand all these anomalies. And I don't expect my technicians to know all this. What I expect my technicians to do is, hey, I just got onto this property and there's a spot on the lawn. You can't ignore that spot. Yeah. And you can't just treat it and say, well, I treated it. Yeah. It's like, have you read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why?
No, but that's...
it's a great book if you can listen to a book, but always I tell my people, it's more important to ask why than to do what. Yeah. Because we get into this mode, and that's what technicians do. They get into, this is my biggest challenge with technicians, by the way, is that they get into technical mode of doing and being on autopilot, and they don't stop for a minute to ask why. If I was here last week and this looks that way, why does it continue to look that way? Right. And that's going to be your biggest challenge, because you have something different that you're never going to find another you. If you find another you, he's going to go start up his own company. Yeah. So finding those people that are passionate, have an eye for detail, ask a lot of questions, and an inquisitive mind, and then can carry 50-pound bags of fertilizer and enjoy being out in the sun all day. It's a tall order, man. It's a tall order. I get it.
The equipment's different. The equipment's different.
Way different.
You have bulkier equipment like a soil injector. You have bigger guns with higher pressure, bigger pumps. I have to have 2 vehicles. I have one for very large jobs, and I have a smaller vehicle. I do smaller stuff. But it's definitely it's a passion. I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do.
No, I absolutely, this is my passion in life. This is why I'm getting so much flack from people that know me, that do what I do. It's like, you can't get out of it. No, that's your passion. I says, I understand, but I'm getting out of mostly the lawn part. We're doing plant healthcare, which is what we do 90% of the time. We specialize in. And here's the other thing that you can't be afraid of. Well, customers want a company today that do everything. You can't be a specialist at everything. You can't be a specialist at termite, lawn, and interior pests and say you're a specialized company, because then you become you got to be a medium brand.
Right.
And that's the error that I made in the past, that I admit, that I tried to be everything to all people, and you can't.
Yeah.
You people call us because nobody else can solve that plant problem.
Correct.
That's what
you can't be jacks of all trade. You can't be jacks of all trade.
No.
Because you notice the irrigation is wrong. And you say, you tell a customer, hey, their irrigation is completely wrong. It needs to be changed.
Right.
And they go, wait, you want to talk to a landscaper? Now you have an enemy. Now the landscaper hates you because now you're bashing on him.
That's been our constant problem. So what I do is I do a video. I love video. I carry video. And what I do is I do a video of the entire landscape. I capture every product on a video. And then I put that video up on YouTube. And I give my client a link that only they have to that video. So now there's a video because you're like me, I don't get to see them. They call me and says, Frank, I need you to come. And the property manager called me, or whoever's in charge, and we need to look at something. And I do video, and I do an entire video consultation. I show them the irrigation timer. I show them where the problems are, where there's certain problems. And then I give them a complete video consultation.
Oh, that's
and then I just uploaded raw right out of my phone. It takes me no time. And then I send them a link and say, look, here's what, and then they can send that to the technician. They try to put us in the middle in the past. And what we've done is because here's what happens. I'm going to end up offending him, because he's going to feel like he's doing everything wrong, because here's what happens with landscapers. Everybody does it this way.
Yes.
This is how I learned how to do it. So you're telling me that everybody in the industry is wrong.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Because it's not based on agronomy. It's not based on horticulture. It's not based on entomology. It's not based on plant pathology. It's based on what you learn, and somebody who doesn't know these things taught you, and you're repeating the same mistakes.
Correct.
And that's what I've done in the past. So I don't get involved with the landscaper. I tell the client, listen, and what do I got to do? Fire the landscaper? I says, no, you got to work with them, because the next landscaper you're going to call, he's going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You got to work with them and educate them. But if you tell them you're the property owner, they're going to respect you. If I tell them, I'm going to offend them.
Yeah.
End of story. When I say I want it done this way, and some of the times it's also the biggest problem I have is dealing with the client who told the landscaper what to do, and the landscaper did not have the fortitude to tell him, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer, you're wrong. That plant doesn't go there.
Correct.
And he did it anyway because he's getting paid. I mean, I got paid $3,000 this week to do this installation. I'm not going to argue with the client and lose the sale, because they're not salespeople.
Right.
They're landscapers. So we're in the middle all the time. And this is what people don't understand. I got guys calling me that do, man, I'm tired of dealing with these landscapers. I'm tired of dealing with the landscapers. I'm tired of dealing with the landscapers. And what I try to do is I try to educate. So I'm putting out material now. All my material is educating everybody. I'm educating the client. I'm educating the landscaper. I'm doing it through video, because it's systematically so easy. Literally, right. Dude, you could be the freaking expert on YouTube in your area with what you know, and I would just go in and record everything you do on plants. Just, hey, this is Eric with, blah, 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 and look, I'm going to show you this plant and what's wrong with it.
Yeah. No, that's a process. I'm just trying to dissociate again. I want to have a generic name that way people don't associate.
And you can still do it. You can still do it, but you have to. You're the one that has to draw the line and say, you don't get me. I train the experts. I'm the expert, and I'm the trainer, and all these guys were trained by me. And then when I do that to the client, they pretty much stand down.
Yes.
And they say they understand. Listen, I got to run a business. I'm the face of the brand, but I don't do the work. I hire people to do the work and I train experts. And all of my people are highly trained by me personally. So they're going to do the job right. And if there's ever a problem, you can feel free to call me. I'm here for you. And I really only have to go out there, dude, maybe 1 out of 100 now issues that I have to go.
Let me ask you this, kind of, switching gears a little.
Yeah.
With whole COVID, everything that's, the COVID-19, everything that's changed. Seeing restaurants just kind of being wiped out.
Yep.
Seeing, the service industry, a lot of the service industry is just kind of being halted down. My biggest concern is, something happening to something similar to us where we're not allowed to work. Technology's really taken off. I'm noticing, there's apps out there where you can actually take a photo and they're quite accurate. They'll tell you what type of plant that you're dealing with. And sometimes, they'll tell you the diseases and the pest issues from just in that. What do you see, Frank? I mean, what are you noticing that? Where do you think our industry is going to be? I mean, at least the lawn or plant health part of it. Do you think it's still going to be all these small companies, or do you think you see it changing dramatically?
It's going to be the small companies. The reason is the large brands. Remember that when and here's what's and there's a different statistic for lawn and ornamental.
Yes,
lawn care is not even included in pest control. When you look at the PCT companies. It's really not included in those numbers because lawn care is in a separate category by itself. Yes. And the reason is because lawn care is only really big here in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., lawn care is not big.
Right.
We're fanatical about lawns in this country. It doesn't happen in Canada. It doesn't happen in Europe. It's not that they tend to be more of the native plants installed. So they don't deal with the pest issues. We tend to deal with more exotic plants, especially in California, being close to Mexico. You're going to get a lot of the same things where we get a lot of plants from Mexico here. So in the industry, while 20% of people do their own pest control for it's way less, and especially the higher end you get, because a lawyer isn't going to go out on YouTube and find out how he can solve a plant problem.
Right.
He's making $250 to $500 an hour. He's not going to do it.
He's not going to touch.
What the exposure does and what the apps do and what technology does is allow people like you and me who are the experts to be the experts.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because we're so expert in what we do. We're at least very niche. Have you ever thought about selling to the people that are not going to necessarily do the work? The 80%, maybe like those Home Depot, the do-it-yourselfers.
Yeah.
And I see your videos, and your videos, a lot of them will cover the do-it-yourselfers.
Yep.
Have you ever been tempted to sell, like a fertilizer or a mix, or at least given the idea that if you want to do yourself, you only have one tree. We're not going to go out and just, you don't have the money to hire us, or you don't have the nuance to keep us on service. This is what you need to do if you want to do it yourself. Have you ever? We're
putting out the videos for that audience, because no matter what, people get offended. I know that a lot of my audience gets offended by me putting out all the details, but the reality is they're never going to call you. Or they're going to call. The reason that people call me is because, hey, listen, I saw what you said, but by the time I get done buying all these products, it's $500-$600. It's not even worth it, because how do I store a 2.5 gallon of a fungicide?
Yeah.
So what I do is I will refer them to do my own. And say, you can get the products there. I don't get involved in the actual selling of products, because the profit margin isn't there, and I can't compete with Amazon, and I can't compete with Do My Own.
Right.
It's not worth it for a 5% profit margin to drive an hour to a customer's house and drop off product, and then they want me to teach them how to use it, and then they want to know how many ounces to apply, and I said, you got to read the label. So I totally stay out of that technology part. My job is I sell information and I sell education.
Right.
And the education and the information makes me the expert in my industry, and makes me the go-to guy for the client that's in my area. And this is the reason why I'm doing these pro videos now for local, because I want that customer to call you in your area.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I appreciate that.
That's the simple thing.
The reason I even asked that was because I came across, I'm starting to see more, subscription boxes. So these, they're gearing up to sell general pest control, do your own general pest control, a subscription box where you get it every quarter or every month or every 2 months. Yeah. And, I've ordered a few just to see how they're packaged, just to see what they're trying to sell. If there's something viable in the landscape and to see that I could fulfill. But here's why they're successful with that. They're competing against Home Depot. Yes.
They're not competing against us.
Yeah.
And what happens is that they understand that customer, they'll sell you a 1-ounce bottle. Uh-huh. And it comes for that dosage for that month. It has to be labeled. In other words, you would have to have them label fungicide. The problem is the L&O market is so low because Home Depot is selling 50-year-old atrazine. They're selling 50-year-old fungicides. They're no longer selling 7 as carbaryl. Now 7 is a cypermethrin, beta cypermethrin, I think now. It's pyrethroid. So they're selling 50-year-old chemicals repackaged to look like new and at diluted rates. And this is what the customer doesn't understand. That the customer can't understand the pathology, doesn't understand the agronomy. He's not going to solve that problem, and especially a higher end client. So getting into that end of like Sunday is selling fertilizer, which is nothing more than kelp and a couple products. And basically all it is kelp product.
But potash, that's all it is. I mean, it's
potassium and kelp.
Because what I looked into it to see if there was something maybe for trees, maybe fertilizer on trees, a subscription box.
It's not enough.
And so there's, I'm looking at different avenues, and this is where I think a lot of the pest control industries may not understand that there's all these companies they're going after their customers, and if you go out and you sell a lower end service, a quick stop, some of these accounts you will lose to do-yourselfers when these companies really start going online. I've even heard of door knockers are going to sell do-yourself products.
Yeah, and that's fine. And that there's a market, and this is about them understanding their client, and we understanding our niche and our client. You have to be data driven.
Yes.
And understanding not only the demographics, but understanding the psychographics is more important. Right. The psychographic these days is more important. Understand that you're selling to Joe, who is a stock trader who makes $10 million a year. He's never going to respond to a guy knocking on his door.
Correct.
That's so understanding the psychographic. It used to be just demographic. It used to be, are you selling to Hispanics? Are you selling to whites? Are you selling to blacks? Who are you selling to Asian? Now it's a millennial 25 to 35 who's never going to do it himself because he doesn't understand. He's not going to do this. I mean, that market has a serious problem with do-it-yourselfers because you and I, how old are you? 30, 40, 30 something?
37.
Yeah. So you're a Gen X, a millennial.
Yeah.
I am a Gen Xer. I grew up in the Home Depot era. I was blown away when Home Depot opened up in my town and I was 14 years old and I would ride there on my bike.
Yeah.
and since I was an entrepreneur and I was already working since I was 10 years old, I knew by the time I was 14, I already knew how to weld. I know how to I knew how to work with 2-phase electricity.
Yeah.
It was like, I literally almost thought about being a contractor one day and I was blown away and they raised up, I grew up on Bob Vila and this old house. So we were the generation of do-it-yourselfers. When HGTV came out, it was like they're going to destroy the market because everybody's going to do their own work. What happened is all they did was bring awareness and the market increased and more contractors went in because it's not as easy to lay that little tiny tile perfectly if you haven't done it 100 times.
Yeah.
And so unless you've got 1,000 jobs under your belt and you've seen 1,000 houses, you understand that acrobat ant is much more difficult to control than you think by putting a product. So what these guys will find out is, yes, they can do the preventive work, but when they have an infestation, they're going to have to call a pro because the average guy isn't going to. So 80% of those people are going to buy those products.
Yeah.
They're going to get an average result. And there's still going to be the guy that says, I am not going to do this. I don't care if it's $19.99 a buck.
Right.
It's the psychographic, not the demographic.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to constantly educate people on, and educate pest control people that, listen, you got to really know who your client is. My target client right now, it's mothers between, 25 and 45.
Correct.
With children and pets.
Yeah.
That's my psychographic and demographic, because I understand that those mothers are going to make the decision in their home, and I send them a video that they can share with their husband so they don't have to try to explain it to him.
Yes.
You see, that's how you're going to get ahead. Is that that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. But understand that, mom is home and she's calling 3 companies, and I want to be the last person she calls and says, this guy gave me a video. This guy gave me the pricing right over the phone. I can call him and schedule any time. And here, honey, look at this. Yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. Because he's busy. He's not going to deal with it. That's the new way of we handle the technology and we combat all this. Is you want to be the first and last guy in that home.
Right.
But you have to do what you haven't been willing to do in the past. And that's embrace the technology, embrace what's happening, the nuances. And this is why I'm putting out, dude, 1 video a day.
I know.
1 a day. And I really should be putting out 2 and 3. And I'm on, right now I'm on 5 platforms. I need to be on the other 2. I need to really get heavy on TikTok. Because why? Because the 25 and 35-year-old mothers are on there. Yes. And they're looking and say, I don't want that pesticide for my kid. I want your service. Yes. And I got to be on Instagram, and I got to be on whatever's next. I have to be on there 5 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Some companies are hiring specific people that deal with social media. That's all they do.
That's what we're going to do.
Anything about pest control, they know the demographics. So they know them really well. And then they know how to target and market and do social media. And it's a big thing. It's really hard for somebody that's, 15 and 20 years older than I am that noticed cell phones come into play, and then all of a sudden social media is a completely different world to them. Yeah. They don't even want to dabble with it because they could care less what other people are doing, but it's not about that. It's about, sharing what you have, because it's a new way of accepting, sharing what you do. A lot of people are very private, and the people that are very private have a difficulty with social media.
They're afraid. I mean, it comes down to, usually, look, it's ego. We gotta. Yeah. It's. I don't like it. I don't want to share it. I don't want to be the guy out there. What if I'm wrong? What if I get criticized? Me, I don't care, because I understand that my video that gets 150,000 views and got 3 no likes and 3 bad comments helped 150,000 people. Yeah. So, and the other thing is, you as a person, you can realize you need to hire your weaknesses. Right. I'm not good at it. I got to hire somebody. For me to hire a company to do what I do right now on social media, it's $2,000 a month, easy. Yes, it's not that hard. Easy. $2,000 a month just on social media alone. Not to mention the video editing and the video production part. Yeah. Not to mention the podcast production and production part. Just on the distribution and the social channel management is about $2,000 a month. That's not to add another $2,000 to SEO, and that's not to add another $2,000, $1,500 a month to paid traffic, like on Facebook or pay-per-click. Yeah. So I do the work. I do the work right now, about $10,000 a month worth of work. I know. That's literally what I do. I'm on here, but this is what brings in the business. But I've learned that my skill is this. Right. I can teach and train people. I just got to hire the right people. And that's the hardest part of all. That's the hard part. It's getting the right people in. And so you got to really spend a lot of time on that, on the learning HR, learning recruiting. Yeah. And see, when you're a technician and you open up your business, and this is structural. This is anybody in business. Yep.
It could be the bartender deciding to open up his own bar, or anything like that. No one teaches you marketing. No one teaches you business, HR. I mean, when you go from a technician to hiring 4 or 5 technicians, HR is like, well, I didn't know you had to do that. I didn't know I didn't know how to talk to customers. I didn't know about company culture.
And forget about the law. I mean, HR is really about law. I mean, when you look at HR, when you look about recruiting, training, onboarding, and all that, that's a separate skill and art set by itself. Yes. So that's I got guys with MBAs that don't know. Because MBAs, business school does not teach you how to start and be an entrepreneur and run a business. It teaches you how to be a manager. Yeah. Really does. I mean, and so you've got guys who are technician turned owner, and they it's like, how many jobs do I know a technician has to do before he's 80% good? And I've measured it out to be 1,000. Whoa. Yeah. About 1,000 jobs. Once he has 1,000 jobs under his belt, he's pretty much seen about 80% of it. The other 20 is stuff that he's going to come across, and then we teach on that. Correct. You could always build off of those specialty cases, and there's always going to be like a curveball. But the specialty part is 10,000 jobs. Yeah. After he's done it 10,000 times, which is really, when I averaged it out, the 10,000 hour rule, and we look at about 10,000 jobs that you do, it takes about 6 to 7 years. Yeah. To become that expert in your field. I've seen that at least 100 times. It's just in here, and it's just repetition. But I noticed that my guy, when I start quizzing them, and I start looking at how many jobs they've actually done, it's about 1,000 jobs. Yeah. And it's difficult even to keep an employee sometimes, especially with, maybe 20 years ago, people would go into a job, the company would take care of you, give you a pension, really, you embraced your position, and you were with that company your whole life. I'm sure, everybody now, or people coming out of college, they're probably changing industries 3 or 4 times. They're probably changing jobs 10, 15 times. Yeah. So, that it will eventually solve that issue, or like millennials. I mean, I would say, probably the upper end of the millennials. I hear a lot of the older folks complain about millennials. Hey, the millennials, they're lazy, they don't want to work. Now, here's the issue is the older folks were the ones that raised the millennials. And because they're raised the millennials, they made them to who they are now. Yeah, I mean, it's society's fault, not the millennials' fault. Yeah, we're correct. And here's the thing about we're dealing with. You're on the higher end of the millennials. You're on that edge of, you're more closer to a Gen Xer probably than an actual millennial. But forget about millennials now. We're talking about early millennials to iGeners. Yes, they're 25 years old. These iGeners. You keep forgetting that they're not millennials. Yeah. And what happens with these kids, and I said kids because they're half my age, is they're moving very fast, and you're moving very slow. Yes, they're making decisions very, very quickly based on what they see and observe, where you're more analytical. Yes, and that's just a painting with a broad brush. There's a lot of analytical kids out there who are doing. Right. But the question is, if you grew up on this, and you grew up on the technology, and the technology is quick, it takes a very special person. Like I said, it's 1 out of 1,000 that it really is about 1 out of 1,000 that can do your job in mind. Right. And do the technical part only. Forget about running the business. Forget about any of that. I'm talking about the technical part. It's really 1 out of 1,000, because you've got to get somebody that says, I actually like being outside. Yes. I am personal with people. I am not an introvert, and I'm not a recluse. I am, and I can embrace the technology. So what you have is you have this generational gap, and they're moving very quickly. In other words, you want to, here's what a guy my age and older wants to do when he gets a new hire. Yeah. He needs to come in person and apply. Yeah. He needs to show up this a certain way wearing this certain clothes.
Right.
And then he needs to be able to come over here and I want to interview him personally. And here's what that millennial and that Jenner wants to do. He wants to go online. He wants to see what your 5-star reviews are. He wants to see what other people are saying about your company. He wants to apply online. He expects a response within hours, not 24 hours.
Correct.
And you're not responding for 2 or 3 days, and somebody else just picked him up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the issue, that you don't understand how their mind is wired, and it takes a long time to deal with them. Fortunately for me, I've been dealing with youth my whole life.
Right.
And I understand how you think, and I've been able to influence and teach and train a lot of youth. Just to give you a little story, I took on a store back in 2000. Was it? No, I'm sorry. This was 1994.
Uh-huh.
I was working with a national truck rental brand, and they asked me to go run a store up in Ohio.
Okay.
And I went up to Ohio to run this store. This store had never made a profit. Never. It was in an industrial park. This is in Dayton, Ohio. If you know anything about Dayton, it's basically GM town. So all the manufacturers that made brakes and wiring and harnesses were there. It's a blue collar town. Never made a profit. I took over the store. I get there and it's like, where's all the employees? Nobody showed up to work. It says, oh, we didn't tell you. We fired everybody. They failed to mention that part. So I get all of a sudden these two, it's summer. I just started with this. I started cleaning up the store, getting it ready. And summer turns around and I get these 2 kids that show up, these 2 black kids, dressed really nicely. And they're like 15, 16, I think they were 16. And I sat there and I looked at them and it says, we're looking for a job for the summer. I said, any kid that's looking for a job for the summer is a good kid. Yeah. Come on. I get drug tested. If you'll pass your drug test and you do all this, the company will hire you. I sent them up to corporate, got these 2 kids. I literally built up that store over the summer. And then another high school kid showed up and I gave him a job too.
Yeah.
And working with 3 high school kids, I took a store that hadn't made a profit. In 6 months, it had made $10,000 profit.
Yeah.
Because I understood how to work with them.
Yeah.
But I'm just wired that way and I understand. So you got to really embrace where they're at, and it's not about you. Everything is about people. We're in the people business.
Yes.
Everything is about customer centric and being then employee centric. Everybody wants to make it about them. My brand. What are people going to think about me? And what if the employee makes a mistake? You manage that mistake. That's your job as a manager.
Correct.
You go to the customer's house and you apologize. Or like when he made a mistake the other day, I said, go back to the house, knock on the door, say, I'm sorry, I forgot that web in the corner.
Yeah.
I'll fix it right now. And I'm sorry. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. So what everybody's afraid of is, what if they screw up? What is it? That's your job as a manager. You got to transition from being a technician to now being a manager.
Yeah.
And you're going to find out that 95% of the stuff you're afraid of isn't going to happen.
Right.
But you got to be willing to be people centric. Not the processes are there to serve you. The protocols are there to serve you. You still have to manage all that.
Right.
And that's just the hard part for people to transition to being a manager. They've never been a manager. Think about this. There are people who went into business, being a technician to business owner, but the business really owns them.
Yes.
They don't own the business. The business, everything is like, to me, I have very simple. I own a business. The business serves me.
Yes.
I'm not a slave to the money. I'm not a slave to the business. I'm not a slave to the customer. Everything has to serve me. That's why I bought it. Initially I got to raise it up like children. But this is why so many farmers had so many kids, because then you can get them to work on the farm for free. You're almost halfway there. I mean, you've got
I'm almost there.
You've got 6 technicians and you've got office staff, and you see. So it's about it's really everything that happens to us. It's really between here and here.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the reality. There are people who want to work. There are kids who want to work.
Yeah.
You just got to be able to be attractive enough and be where they are on the platforms they are.
Correct. I mean, and this is why I never bash the youth. The youth, they bring in a nuance of different
and excitement, man.
Yeah. I mean, fresh blood. I mean, somebody that could, call you out. You're saying, hey, remember you telling me you wear your safety glasses?
And you don't wear them.
And you're not wearing them. Why aren't you wearing your safety glasses? And, simple things like that. I mean, but I think the youth from millennials from, even younger, there's a lot of potential in them. And
there is huge.
Yeah.
They were us. They were us. They were just us. And we forget what we were like. I mean,
with everything's going on with COVID, think about it. I mean, who's willing to go far to a university like they were in the past and pay the big dollars, where now they're I think they're going to be doing more junior college.
Yeah, they're going to be doing local college, and the skills trade is going to go up. The technical colleges that do technical work, pharmacy technician, and shorter careers. And then if they like it, they say, yeah, I'll be a pharmacist if I like being a technician, because it only takes 10 months and I can be making, 13 to 17 an hour. Yeah. In 10 months versus a 4-year degree and make 35,000 and be 100,000, 50,000 in debt. So that whole mindset, it's about really us embracing and having, I think empathy is the word.
That's a good word. Yeah.
I think empathy, that being and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. Because my guys, they know they're free to call me out on my BS. Because when I call it says, do I tell you this, this, and this, and do I do it? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So then that's why I expect you to do it. Yeah. But most people that are older can't have anybody challenge them. You don't want to be challenged. And I want to be challenged and say, look, Frank, I'm doing this, but here's what I noticed about younger dealing with teenagers these days. They're not adventurous like me, like I was. They want to feel secure. And if you're training, they're afraid to look bad in front of everybody. Yeah. Me, I'm not afraid to look bad in front of nobody. I already look bad enough on this camera. So they are afraid of. So if you don't have a really good training course to put them through, and they don't feel secure that they're going to go out there and be successful because they're afraid of failure, they're going to drop you. Yeah. This idea that you want them to be mavericks and no, I'm going to show you and you do it and make, no. Structure. Understand that they're craving structure too because of what's happening in a lot of their lives. Understand that 50% of these kids that we're hiring didn't have a father in the home and live with mom. Yeah. That's a hard reality that a 60 and 70-year-old guy did not have to deal with. Correct. 50% of these kids don't have a father in the home, a father figure.
And a lot of these kids, I mean, they don't have access to summer jobs like they used to.
They're not there.
Yeah, they're not working at the ice cream store. They're not working at the tire shop.
They're being taken up by guys who got displaced in their 50s and 60s, and now they're working. If you walk in any fast food place, there used to be kids. Now it's guys in their 50s and 60s, guys in retirement that decided they still need to work. Yeah. And those jobs, all those fast food jobs, and this is why everybody's wanting $15 an hour because I can't live. I said, that job was never designed for you. That job was designed for a teenager to have over the summer and to have while they're in college and then move on. And it was a stepping stone. It wasn't designed for a career. And what you're wanting this thing to sustain you for the next 10 years until you die. And it's not designed for that. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of dynamics. So this is why if a kid can make money flipping products online and says, I just made $1,000 this week just flipping products. Why would I go work in a career where I got to get sweaty, dirty, and deal with chemicals? And the whole thing with chemicals too. These kids don't want to, they embrace that eco-friendliness. This is why if you're not an eco-friendly company and your morals and values don't align with theirs and your ideology doesn't align with theirs, you're not going to get them.
You'll lose that whole generation of customers, mainly because you're so stuck in saying, this is how I've done it. This is how I've always done it. This is how I have all my customers. Exactly. But eventually it catches up to you. Yeah. It's the structural guys, they become their own islands. I think business owners in general become their own islands.
It's very hard. It's a lonely.
Yeah, because it's a lonely industry. I mean, who do you talk to when you're the business owner?
And even your spouses. And even with your spouses, they don't understand what you're going through sometimes. They don't get it. They've never been. They're not entrepreneurial. They support you. They love you, but they really don't understand the pressure and what you're feeling and all the things you got to struggle with because they're employees too. Yeah. And a lot of the times they don't get it. And so it's very lonely. You're right to be an owner. And here's the other thing, it's lonely because a lot of the guys in this industry have decided, I'm not sharing what I know because they're going to take my customers. It's not going to happen, dude.
Yeah, and they eventually go, hey, I found the key. I found the reason, I found this golden key that now I know how to run my business. And it took them 25 years. And then you go, well, if you would have just gone on YouTube, you would have seen the answer in 10 seconds.
It's always there. It's everybody has the answer. This is why content wins in this age. People, I mean, look, I just had this discussion and I have it with guys who train in the industry.
Right.
And they refuse to put out content. They refuse to put out any of the conference. They refuse to put out any of the training. Well, it's just that I like better the interaction of a live audience. I said, that's what you like.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's about me and what I like.
Yeah.
I'm the consumer. I want it on video. I just bought a conference that was a summit, a business summit. I think 20 guests. I paid $47 for it. It's no different than any other summit I've been to than going to Expo or going to anything where I go and I got to spend $2,000 for.
And have you found out how because I'm also part of a different group where we put out it's a pesticide applicators professional association PAPA. Okay. And so we do seminars, and our biggest thing was live audience seminars. You're talking about groups of 300 to 400 people coming in and sitting down in a seminar. That whole world changed. It's no longer getting together and sitting in a seminar. So
it's going to change.
Went online. Everything online where people didn't want to embrace putting their content online. Now they have to put everything online if they want to survive. The president of the association is our good buddy James Rodriguez with B&G. And so he's been very active in that group. But everything's going to change. All the content's online, and people are going to embrace it no matter what. They're being forced to embrace it now.
Here's my thing. It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. There's a group of, understand that the guys that go to those conferences are usually owners.
Yeah.
They're not technicians. They're not the people at the ground level. It's that owner's job to come back and then interpret that for them. Here's the problem. It's both. You can do the conference over here, the live conference for the guy that wants the live conference.
Yeah.
And then take that same conference and put it online for the guy that wants it online. He says, but the problem is then they won't come to the conferences. That's not for you to decide.
Yeah.
The market decides what the market wants. And when you no longer provide it and somebody comes along like me and provides it, then don't cry about how they're listening to a guy who isn't a PhD.
Correct.
Because you lost it. You didn't make it. Right. And it's not only, it's about being here and being on Facebook and being on social media and being on all the platforms and allowing people to consume the product. But the thing is, nobody wants to read books anymore. Everybody wants to read just videos, and everybody wants to a Twitter post. And I said, then make a Twitter post. It's not about what you like. If people don't want to read your books because kids are not reading books. They're watching videos and they're listening to YouTube and they're listening to podcasts and they're consuming. You got to give it to your audience. It's kind of like you raised 6 kids. You remember that one that didn't want to eat anything?
No, the one that doesn't want to. I have one that doesn't want to eat meat.
And you have to figure out how you give it to him because he needs that protein.
Right. And so my wife decided to put veggies in, or, even adding veggies to a shake and then adding some fruit, stuff like that. Yeah. So
that's because I have to give it to them the way they want to consume it, not the way I want to give it to them.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going after is, hey guys, it's both. It's now, what are you going to do when you have to rent out an auditorium and you can only sell 1/3 of the seats? And you still got to pay full price for the auditorium because you got to be 6 feet apart, 6 feet forward. 6 feet.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so the idea is, well, I'm still doing webinars. Yeah, but you're doing a webinar at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
I can't be there at 3 p.m. I got to be working. Can you record it and put it on a channel and sell it to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't we think of that? No. So again,
a lot of these seminars were actually, they're the way that they're designed, they become one big commercial. So they have a dependency on distributors, manufacturers to come in and
it's old school.
subsidize the way they did these
and it
seminars.
can still be done, but you have to give more value. The problem is they're not used to giving a ton of value for what they're asking. Yeah. In other words, they're giving you right hooks on my product, not giving you enough value on how to actually use it.
Yeah.
And then what happens, this new generation sees that and says, I'm turned off by that. Yeah. I'm not the 50-year-old guy that's used to that jabbing. I want to be romanced. I don't want you to ask me out and take me to bed the second night. And that's what these guys, they want to be they're in sales mode. I want to be a salesman. I don't want to be they don't even understand the marketing part. Some of these, they need to be able to say, hey, by the way, I'm going to give you this entire seminar. And by the way, I represent this brand and here's the product. And that's it. Yeah. And give the value. And that's remember, we're dealing with people who can't change the way they want to do things. The next generation is going to rise up and do it. This is why I'm looking at the future. I'm not looking at the past and trying to convince them to do it, because I realize they're not. I realize that I got to put out the content. I got to bring the people on. I got to bring on the experts. I got to start. Before, nobody wanted to come on this podcast. Right. Now it's pretty much booked. Good. For a whole month, because people are understanding the value. They embrace the vision. They embrace, and you're progressive and you understand it, and you see, hey, this is good for the industry. This is good for us. Yeah. To have these discussions. Hearing a story for everybody comes with a story. Yeah. Everybody comes into an industry completely different. Some people are born into it. Some people are, kind of just step into it. Some people just fall in love with it. Some people just thought it was a summer job. Like myself, I came into the distributor part of it. I'm an educated person from the distributor part of it. That I don't mind getting dirty, and working out in the sun. But these podcasts shine a light that all businesses have to be the same. Internally we're all the same. All the mechanics are pretty much the same. A little variable here, but it's the same. A burger is still burger. It still has bun. It still has lettuce, tomato, and you can change the variables. But internally, we're the same. Externally, we're the brand and we're different, and because of our personality and our upbringing and how we fell into it. But the mechanics, everybody thinks they have the secret sauce. The secret sauce is the brand, the outside. Yeah, not the internals. The internals, accounting is accounting, sales is sales, marketing is marketing. It's how you go about it. Yeah. And we have something special. We don't. It's how we go about it. And I think that helping guys who are struggling, who understand that when you go to these seminars, when was the last time you went to one of these pest control seminars and somebody that actually is running a business and is growing is sitting there telling you, guys, this is how you grow the business. This is how I'm actually doing it. Yeah. It doesn't happen because being a rep, and I was a rep at a big giant company. And going from being a rep, it was easier for me to go from 0 to 13 million in 4 years than it has been to grow my company to 1 million. Yeah. So when you come from a rep mentality where you actually are not selling a physical product, you're repping the line and you're informing people and to influence them to actually running a business. They don't understand because they've never actually been in our shoes. They can understand to I understand what you're going through. No, you really don't, because you've never actually had to do it. And you're giving me big company theory that I can't apply down here. And this is what I try to tell some people in the industry. There's the professor at a college that teaches you that probably doesn't have the desire or doesn't have the personality to start a business, be an entrepreneur. So they can't teach you that. They could teach you theory behind it. There's that technician that doesn't know how to run a business because he's never done it, but he's working his way up there. Right. There's a distributor, there's a manufacturer, there's all these nuances. And, this is something that kind of a point that we probably want to put out there is, you like the industry, you don't necessarily have to be a technician. You don't necessarily have to be a business owner. You could work for distribution. You could work in education.
you could work in all these fields. Our industry is so large. Sales, I mean, it's so large. You could work on the marketing part of it. You don't necessarily have to be a business owner. If your personality does not match the business owner mentality, the entrepreneur mentality, you're gonna struggle.
And here's the other fallacy about entrepreneur is a cool word today.
Yes.
Entrepreneur. Most business owners are not entrepreneurs. Right. There are what we used to call in the old age, you're self-employed. You're not growing a business. Yeah. $150,000, $200 a year pays the rent, but you still have to run it. You own it. And if you get sick, it doesn't run.
Right.
That's not being entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial is when I hire and I start growing it to hire to either leave as a legacy or to sell or whatever it is, but it has to work for me. I work in it. Yeah. But if I decide I got to take off a month, I have managers and people that can still run this because it doesn't need a vision for a month. It doesn't need leadership for a month. It needs management for a month.
Yes.
It needs leadership to continue to grow. And this is the big fallacy that a lot of people go in is, oh, I'm a business owner. No, you're self-employed. Yeah. You're not a business owner until the business works for you.
Yeah. And that's the problem that I've had because when I first started, I bought my job.
You bought a job?
I bought a job, and it becomes that where you feel like, oh, now I'm a business owner, and now you're so happy, you're so gun ho, but you bought your job. Yeah. You're working to keep your job. Yeah. You don't show up, you don't get paid. Yeah. But yes, that mentality, that's the mentality I'm trying to pivot out of. Again, businesses run different. And doing it the way I've done it, you don't necessarily have to do it that way. But there's nothing wrong with that because there's a lot of people that actually prefer it that way. But yeah, I'm trying to pivot out of that. I'm trying to. Yeah.
Have you read the book, The E-Myth?
Yes. It's a good one.
It's a great one to wake you up to the fact that it doesn't give you all the tools that you're going to need, but it does open your eyes up for you to realize where you're making all the mistakes. And then you can start working on correcting them. And it is the entrepreneurial seizure. I got ticked off of my company because I worked for the last 5 and the last 5 suck. Yeah. I'm just going to start up by myself. And then you start up and you're like, it's like being married at 20, and you realize that, hey, she's got a lot of problems.
Well, it's just like the book, Good to Great.
It's a great add-on to that. Good to Great is I think Good to Great is the next step to that. I'm putting out together the top 10 books. Good to Great. The E-Myth those are 2 great books to help you understand. And then Clockworks is a great one by Mike Makowicz.
Yeah, I just downloaded the one you recommended the other day. The Oceans Are Blue or
Blue Ocean Strategy. That book right there is going to help you understand about a USP, a unique selling proposition, being a really unique company and not being a company that sells. Understand, here's what nobody wants to accept. Pest control is a commodity.
Yes.
The product is a commodity. The service is a commodity. The only thing that differentiates us is the unique selling proposition through brand.
Yeah.
Nike is a shoe. If you think about it, it's plastic, foam, and leather made in China by a guy making $1 an hour.
Yeah.
It's brand. It's what it represents.
Right.
So by you getting it, that's why I went into the natural organic because I was really good at it with plants. It's just that we hit the wall with lawn. We can't do it. So we're going to go back just to plants and be true to our vision and mission and our brand. But it's based on Blue Ocean Strategy. The Blue Ocean Strategy was the one that sealed it for me, that I said, I have to build brand and do something different. Circuses are elephants and clowns. Circus Soleil sells an experience for a more refined audience.
That's it. And another book that kind of changed the way I've thought about doing work was 48 Days to the Work You Love.
Okay, yes. One. I haven't read that one yet. I've heard of it, but I haven't read that book yet.
And then there's Question Behind the Question, another good one that kind of deals with. That's what I'm learning. Yeah, that's the one I started reading because I want to change the company culture as I pivot and start hiring employees. And it's old book. It's just like Who Moves My Cheese. I mean, there's all these different books, and people don't read his books; they listen to audio, and that's what I've been doing. I've been pivoting.
I do audio. Yeah, I'm audio. I'm complete. I've been look. I was Audible before Audible even existed back in the 80s. Yeah, I used to buy cassette tapes of Zig Ziglar. Okay. And I mean, this is what I used to do. And at one time I was like 19 and I said, what if I start a distribution company that just sells cassette tapes for motivation? Yeah. That's all we did. It wasn't, the internet was just coming and I never did it. And those are the things that I regret that I never did, because I would have been at the cutting edge of that, but I never did it. And so I'm Audible. I think I'm up to 180 titles in my Audible. I don't read. I read technical material.
Yes.
Like I'll go in and I'll read studies on, Coleoptera insects, that they've done tests on a bacterial product, and I'll read that to death because that I can consume. I have a very difficult time consuming material for entertainment sort of knowledge, because I can absorb it when I'm relaxing. So when I'm smoking my cigar on Sunday, I will literally listen to half a book on a Sunday for 3 hours. And then the following Sunday, listen to the other half. And I consume just an enormous amount, but that's what keeps me on my toes, keeps me on the cutting edge, keeps me realizing. And sometimes I only get one idea from one book. That's it. Sometimes I get one revelation. There it is. That's what I've been doing wrong, that I couldn't put my finger on it. Yeah.
You have a podcast, right? So what do you listen to a business podcast that you recommend that, you may want to, what do you listen to?
The guy I've been listening to now for probably the last 6 months, he's an acquired taste, but and I've listened to him for probably over a year. And a lot of the things I was already doing, he just confirmed it for me, but I've gotten into a deep dive with him, would be Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
I've been listening to him because I realized that what I needed to change. But I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, because the problem is they're doing the same thing, the same interviewee, the same thing we're doing here. We're just doing it in a niche market, and we're probably getting more on the personal level than a lot of the other podcasts. So a good one, if you've never, you want to get into it, if you've never listened to a podcast and you're new to business, it's all new. EO Fire and Entrepreneur on Fire is a great one. It's just,
I used to listen to them way back in the day when he used to barely start.
So he's still a good podcast.
He would put out financials.
I'm more getting into I understand my style. Yeah. And then I understand. So I'm more into refining who I am. Yeah. So I'm listening to Joe Rogan. I really resonate with his style and how he does it versus Gary Vaynerchuk, because I'm more of on stage. I'm more of a Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm that high energy guy, but I love him. And I like guys like Charlie Rose. Yes. In the old days, those two, I can see the style. So I'm more into more of the style, and then the substance comes from the conversation. Where we haven't talked. I never called you, hey, we're going to talk about this and we want to do this. And I don't do that because I want it to be genuine, and I want to deal with the real issues and real struggles. And that only happens through a real conversation, not through talking points. Correct. So
you never know where the conversation is going to go when it becomes that way.
And if it goes south, that's fine. But I want it to be genuine. I want my audience to know that, hey, we're doing a real thing here, that it isn't scripted, that it isn't something, and it's really about you and me and what they're experiencing and helping each other and figuring out ways that we can get together. Because a lot of us are islands to ourselves, but we're islands to ourselves because we want to be, because we're insecure, because we don't want to step out and share. We don't want to, and I'm not going to ever take your business in California. Right. But I can refer a lot of business when people call me. Yeah. I'm looking at the positive. What can we do? Everybody I sit around a table, it's not we can't do this, we can't do that. Yeah, I know, but I don't care about that. I care about what can we do? Give me one good freaking idea that we can implement today and get it done. Right. That's really what I'm about. That right now, I'm at a point in my career and in my life where what's the one good idea that I can really implement, or what do I need to tweak in what direction? Because I'm 90% there.
Yeah.
But it's that 10% and then just that 1% incrementation of, well, you know what you need to do. You know your customer, you know your business. You know the work of your business. Now you need to start understanding the other parts of your business. You need to get really good at the recruiting. Yeah. On the training, on onboard. And guess what? It's going to be painful for you because you're going to fail. And what I'm warning you about the failure is good. Fail fast, fail forward. Right. When you realize that guy is really not going to work, instead of keeping him on for 2 to 3 months, which has been my mistake in the past, because I want to be good to everybody. Yeah. I want to be a guy that's liked. I am a genuine, I'm a nice guy, and I want to help everybody, but I realize I'm never going to be able to help this guy. And what I can do is recognize that if I let him loose, he can go do something else instead of wasting 3 months with me. Yeah. It's like how they say, hire slow, fire fast. Yeah. And this day it's going to change, because with these young people, it's hire fast and fire fast. In other words, you got to be willing to make that mistake faster, because if not, here's what happens is that guy that's really good, he's going to move on quick. Right. He's not going to wait around for you 3 weeks for you to make a decision. Right. He's going to get picked up really quick because he's good. You got to be willing to pick him up and say, let's give it a try, man. For a week and see if you like this, and I'll put you on payroll and see how you work. And if you like it, great. And if not, it's all good. Yeah. And that's how we got to do it now. And I got to move faster. And I realize look, everything in business is about speed. Correct. Execution and moving fast. If you're moving really slow, everything passes you by. You just got to get really good at what you can move fast on and what you can't. I already have this video thing. You know, I've got this streamline. I'm not kidding you. I spent 2 months of the first COVID problem. I literally spent 1 month on that, on learning how to streamline everything I was doing with the social media. Yeah. 1 entire month doing it for 8 hours a day while I was taking calls to basically learn how to streamline it. So now I have it where I could only produce a year ago because I wasn't focused on it. It was hard for me to produce one a week. Yeah. A piece of content. And then I said, what if I could produce 2? Now I'm producing 5 to 7 with the same time. Yeah. Well, if you want a different perspective, I'm here to help. I'm more than willing to jump in and maybe start helping you out. I know you have your wildlife section now, and if you want to do plants, if you would like to do a plant podcast, I would gladly give you that wholeheartedly. Let you do the plant thing. You become the freaking plant expert in the world, and I'll walk away from that. I see it. The thing with me is I don't have ego. I have more of a vision of where I want this to go. And if I can I'm trying to talk Paul Bello into joining me because he wants to, because I understand he's customer centric, while the rest of the industry is not going to give him a chance. My podcast is open to that mentality. So I really care about where we want to go and what we want to do, and not get hung up on I want to micromanage this and control this because I need to control the information. I'm a total delegator. I'm like, you said you want to do it. I'll support you the whole way. Let's go. You send me a video every week. You send me a podcast. I'll produce it, distribute it. I'll get it all done for you. And you can shine as that expert. Yeah. I don't like to show this mug. Bro, you look awesome on camera, bro. Hey, what I'll do is, we'll get together and we'll produce something here in this near future. But I just need you to hold me accountable, because sometimes I get stuck, and just like a technician, the nose to the grindstone, and you're just working. Yeah. Put it out. Just look, if you have to record it, don't get over. Here's where everybody, and I want to help people who are wanting to do YouTube and wanting to do some media, is you get too hung up on what you think the quality is. The quality is always subjective. Yeah. The quality is never determined upon you. Your audience will determine your quality. And I have videos that are total garbage in audio sound and have 200,000 views right now because the content was good. You can literally do it doing a weekly podcast, sitting in your truck like that, or and for 15 minutes. You don't have to be 30 minutes. You don't have to be an hour. It could be 5 minutes, because you can give gems in 5 minutes. Yeah. You know, I'm Cuban, dude. I will talk for 2 hours nonstop. I can do a monologue for 2 hours and not take a breath, not take a sip of water. You know, I can talk to a 2x4 in the wall and get a conversation. Some people can't, but you can do a little video of this is the plant. Look, guys, this is the little problem with that plant. Look at that little insect.
Yeah.
And we're going to treat it with this, this, and this.
Yeah.
You don't have to put dosage. You don't have to put, you know, where you buy it. It's just, this is what people are smart enough to go Google stuff. I mean, we think that we got to tell people everything because they're stupid. People aren't stupid. You just got to give them good advice. And so I carry my phone and everywhere I go, I'm shooting stuff at every stop. Like I get to go out once a week now. Like yesterday I was running a route. And so when I get to do it, I'm like, just shooting. I'm go crazy with a camera, dude, and a phone. I mean, microphone, no microphone. I learned how to get microphone quality by cupping my phone and doing this while the camera is pointing that way. And it sounds like I'm in a freaking studio because I cut all the noise around me out. I mean, stupid stuff. And you can do it, bro. You got the chops. You've got the knowledge. It's, you know, hey, if you can help people with understanding fungicides and understanding fertilizers and just the understanding of simple things. Yeah. You could blow up. I mean, in your market, you could be the next. I'm trying to get Becerra. I don't know if you know him. He's in California. He's the critter guy.
Yes.
To do stuff over there because I'm trying to encourage everyone to do local stuff, man, because local is where it's at for SEO. Local is at for everything. And if you can be the local guy, you're it. You got it nailed. Yeah.
You'll see something coming out the next month.
Shoot it, man. Send it to me. I would if you send me 15, I'll post 15. We can do it. And so I'm trying to help my buddy launch his academy. That's why we've been so slow on mine because he's getting all the technical stuff for the academy. For those that don't know, we're starting the Pest Geek Academy. Man, I'm trying to get that thing later to be CEU'd online. So if you do a whole portion of it on understanding,
in California, I know how to get the hours out here if you ever need it.
Yeah, and that's what we need to do. We just need to put out stuff that's different, not on compliance, that helps more on the educational part, but it's also educational and entertainment with compliance. If we can get those three and we can nail those three, and you've got it, bro. I mean, look how good you look on camera, bro. You look awesome.
Okay, can you see the mobile office?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing. That's all it takes, bro. I mean, if you want to sit in bed with a pair of tank top, you know.
You're getting carried away now.
Yeah, I know, you know. But you know, it doesn't matter, dude. It's what you can bring to the table that's important to people and what the good advice is. And if it's solid, people could care less how you look. You know, if you're missing all your teeth, it does not matter. We live in an age where that's not judged anymore, which this is not Hollywood.
It adds character.
Yeah. And I'm a character for sure. I mean,
well, you know, we got to wrap it up. I got to get
brother.
to work.
You've been on here almost 2 hours, brother. I appreciate you so much for doing this. And it's been a ton of fun. And I wish you all the success. Let's, send me whatever you have. This is going to go up probably, what's today? It'll be up tomorrow on video and next in the 2 weeks on audio, because I've got 2 more audio podcasts to line up, but it'll be out on video very quickly. And
do you think there's an audience for this long a conversation in what we do? Is it just too specified? Or?
No. What I found is that I used to do 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and I found that people are listening to 2 hours. They'll listen to it in pieces. Yeah. They'll go into the truck and come right back and put it because I want to know the content, bro. 90-minute, 2 hours. What I would do is then I also chop it up into little micro content where we take the little topics. Hey, this is a nugget he gave here, and put that on TikTok. And people eat that up and they go, oh, let me go follow him over here. And it's all about learning how to do all this. It's not about, I'm just going to do a 30-minute podcast. It's about, is the content good enough? People will listen to. Our numbers have actually increased since I started doing lawn form. Yeah. So there's something for everybody. People say skip the first 39 minutes. The good stuff happens at there, and that's fine. That's good for them. Joe Rogan does 3 hours of nothing. I know. 3 hours of nothing.
Yeah, I'll sit through them, but
and he's making he just cut a $10 million, I think, $100 million deal, for that. So What do I know?
Yeah. So what we could do is send me the link once you have it all set up. I'll shoot it out to I'll forward it out to other people that may not know the Pest Geek, but I think you'll get a wider audience that way after the.
Yeah, California is a big audience for us. It's our largest market, and then Texas and California. California, Texas, and Florida in that order are our biggest market. There's a huge market out there. Hey, just in case anybody's listening, they want to get in contact with you. How do they get a hold of you?
They could. My website's Eric's Pest Services. They could get a hold of me through that.com. Everything's going to change. So I don't know what's going to happen next month. It's going to have a whole new website.
That's fine. What's the phone number? Because people still call.
If you want to call me, it's 805-444-9513.
Good.
And happy to take your phone calls. And if you have a question, plan health, where to get started, give me a call. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other out. I mean, I can't service Florida. I don't plan to service Florida. I can't service Northern California. California is just so large that I'm stuck in my geographic. And this is why I thought different aspects of maybe doing a subscription box of some sort to send it out through, to capture the people that are not going to hire us. There's big things that are going to happen. What I'm doing.
What city are you in, by the way? What counties do you cover? What area?
I cover Ventura County, Los Angeles County. That's all I cover.
That's big.
And Los Angeles County itself is it's a state.
Yeah.
So that's big enough. So Ventura, Los Angeles, if you need to get a hold of me, call me. You got my number, and we're here to help.
Swell, brother. You've been really swell at this, man. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. We'll see you, Frank.
Have a great one, man. Have a fun.
Too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.